time to live as we are witnessing some of the craziest stuff in our world today. I mean, can we talk about the amount of diseases, or I should say more specifically, pestilence that we are seeing across this country? And look, if you're seeing this and you're living outside of the US and this is happening in your own town, your own city, let me know. I want to know what's going on, because there is a lot of weird phenomenon going on in our world. Take a look at this. 19 million eggs recalled at several supermarkets over possible salmonella contamination. And this is not just it, right? This is like, well, we've seen this happen before. It's not unusual. Okay. Famed Polo bar. Oh, no, this is something else, actually. This is actually dealing with what's happening in New York, and it's just wild. Kids' fruit pouches recalled nationwide over plastic contamination risk. How about this? Coffee sold in New York and New Jersey recalled for botulism risk, according to the FDA. Now, I'm reading headlines here. Okay, so these are like recently reported outbreaks. And take a look at this. This is cops make wild discovery inside LAX suitcase. I'm actually going to show you this article. But this goes to show you that there is an attack on America from within. And possibly coming from outside sources. So they import goods into our economy. That is lettuce, berries, basil, you name it. A lot of greens that are affected right now because of the explosive diarrhea. Cops make wild discovery inside LAX suitcase coming from Thailand. I mean, is this even like, look at this. But of course, when people are bringing foods from, like, is this a nefarious situation here? 99 pounds of prohibited agricultural and wildlife products from luggage that arrived on a flight from Thailand Monday. I mean, this is absolutely wild, but no wonder we're getting all these cases of diseases. Now, this is not necessarily the evidence here, but the evidence that we've seen lab leaks, we've seen labs that have been discovered in Las Vegas, California. New outbreak of explosive diarrhea parasite reported by FDA with 72 cases and no known source. Now, Taco Bell denied, and they said, you know what, this is not our fault. We're going to go ahead and recall Tyler Foods here, but it's not our fault. We're sticking by our guns here. Actually had nothing to do with Taco Bell, apparently, but FDA is sticking with its guns and said, no, absolutely not. We know it came from you. They probably want to pin it on some fast food giant somewhere in America, when really that our produce comes from from other countries. Cyclospora, it stems from warmer climate environments. So you look at South America, you look at the tropical regions, Africa, these areas where this parasite is likely to be found on these types of greens. So no matter where you are, wherever you eat, it seems like, okay, I might skip the lettuce this time because I might be finding myself with some explosive diarrhea in the next couple of hours. FDA says it still thinks diarrhea parasite came from Taylor Farms, I should say, not Tyler Farms, and insists it didn't apologize. Originated at Taylor Farms in Mexico. Now, If you look at a company like Good Ranchers, for example, this is not an ad. Good Ranchers, they supply the meat from American ranchers. Okay. Like I said, this is not an ad, but 85% of that meat that says USDA is 85% of it is imported. And so we want to believe that we're getting American meat. We want to believe that we're getting meat from our farmers, and we're seeing a huge, we're seeing a big problem with America being fed by America's farmers. And so you continue on. There's a lot more here. Okay, of course, you have the San Diego sewage, the sewage that is spilling into San Diego. It's absolutely disgusting. If you've seen the images, stomach churning video shows raw sewage on SoCal Beach as Tijuana River crisis worsens. I mean, I don't even know if I could show this on YouTube. I mean, I didn't really think it through. And how do we expect Gavin Newsom to actually, I don't know, run this country if this is how he's running California? I don't know. I don't know if I can show this image here. But we're also seeing, this is wild. New Jersey is approaching 400 cancer cases because of toxic landfill, and residents are pointing the finger at the state's Department of Environmental Protection. An independent testing expert found that the soil contained high amounts of PCBs and dioxins. And so we're seeing a huge increase in these cases, and it's in this sort of richer neighborhood, Ladera Ranch, Orange County. And the cancer type is Ewig sarcoma, a rare bone soft tissue cancer. And so this is normally 200 to 250 cases a year nationwide. And so we're seeing that there's at least 6 confirmed or closely linked childhood Ewig sarcoma cases connected to Ladera Ranch. And so we're witnessing all these weird things going on. What is actually happening here? Farmers warn food shortages are just 10 days away. The signs suggest they have already arrived. So these farmers are alarming the sound. They're sounding the alarm about growing food crisis. Experts say that Britain's food insecurity needs to be treated as a growing national emergency. The warnings are becoming impossible to ignore. And so we're seeing recall after recall of foods, coffee, eggs. We saw just earlier, if you weren't here in this podcast, we showed a possible salmonella outbreak. And you just continue to go down this list of tragedy after tragedy. Now look, I'm just going to point something out here. And God bless you. Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate your wonderful gift. The outbreaks that we're seeing, this is not surprising at all. We've talked about this passage before. The passage in Luke, the passage in Matthew that talks about pestilence in the last days. But these are just the warnings before tribulation. And so what's also interesting, and I thought this was kind of ties into all of this, the pestilence, the famine, the food shortages that we just read just a moment ago. This is something that came down the pipeline. And not to burst anybody's pipe here, but there's, I think, 2 more water breaks in LA. So the one that happened with the major sinkhole on Sunset, and you had one a mile away from there, and just another. Let's see if we can find it here. Another water main break floods Hollywood streets near Paramount Studios. Something is happening in California for sure. It's weird. So, but the other thing that I wanted to point out, this is ex-NYC Mayor Eric Mayor Adams targeted in bonkers Chinese AI videos with fake voiceover claiming, "I am Jesus Christ." Look, this is wild. Now, where this originated from, who knows?
All right. My name is Eric Leroy Adams. I am Jesus Christ. Today is May the 10th, 2026. So I've been making videos where I explain and provide evidence that I am Jesus Christ.
I'm not even going to play anymore. But we know this is not surprising because this is what was told that would happen. Now, it's AI, okay? Fake voiceover. He's claiming he is Jesus Christ. This is not Eric Adams, of course. This is posted by some random account. And Jesus also warns us, and he says to his disciples, "See that you are not deceived, for there will be many that will say that they are the Christ." Now, mind you, this is AI. How many people this has fooled? I mean, we don't really know. But this will increase more and more. And so you're shifting, we're looking at all of this, what's happening in America. Of course, we need to focus on what's getting a lot of heat right now, that is New York City. New York City Mamdani, and of course, because Mamdani is this political figure that prodded himself as a, democratic socialist, and now a lot of other socialists are getting on board with it because he's endorsing these folks. And these democratic socialists are really beginning to win over the people. And they're winning over the people by their talking points. And many of the ones that are sticking are, of course, abolish ICE, abolish borders. Even some of these democratic socialists that have said, on X posts and in public that they ran out of napkins and they used an American flag instead, beginning to support these younger, Zohar Mamdani types. We saw this coming from a mile away. Bernie Sanders was preaching this from his pulpit, from his X account, from his pulpit in Congress, in the Senate, I should say. And he says that we want to pop up these little Mamdanis all across the country. What Mamdani did in New York, let's do the same thing. Now, as I said before, New York is severely, is a hotbed for the news that is coming out, of course, everything else. Pestilence, all of that is, it's like you look at the comments and people are saying, what now? I mean, this is just crazy. How much are we going to continue to go down this new, new outbreak, new, recall, whatever you want to say. And then you look at, sewage is coming in from Mexico down into San Diego. It's like, what do we expect? This is a national security threat. And of course, we got everything else. And Mr. Cut Cost, we saw there was a clip of Donald Trump actually, I think it was more comedic than anything because of look, he is spot on with the audience. He knows the audience he's talking to. Let me play this clip because before I get into you just reminded me of this clip and I think it's funny. Donald Trump running for 2028, fourth term. He's going for it. Okay, let me play this clip before I go on with anything else because I think it's absolutely hilarious. He knows his audience, right? He's speaking to a room full of press.
Here we are. Here we are. In fact, when I'm finished, I'm going right back to the Oval Office. So I have to be doing okay. But we are all doing good together. That's why tonight, to show just how much I care about the press, and I want to save your ratings, I'm pleased to announce my intention to, and this is somewhat of a scoop, my intention to run for a fourth term as President of the United States. I will be doing that. I will be having an official. In fact, I think I have, I won 3 times. Now I'm going to do it again.
What a classic.
Thank you. I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president.
Terrifying double.
No, I won 3 times. Did very.
Donald Trump is the master at what he does. He's the master at getting the media mad. And what better place to make this type of announcement in a room full of reporters who are going to run with this and say, he's done it. He's officially surpassed his constitutional authorities and is now running for a 4th term. And MS Now is going to run with this. They're going to go hard because they've been going hard on this speech since they were live reacting, all of this stuff. You see the amount of hatred they have, especially Jen Psaki, towards Donald Trump, trying to debunk all the lies that he supposedly said during his announcement of all the files that he would release concerning the election, the whole election issue. And then what do we find? We find out of all of this, we see that 150,000 ballots were actually disqualified in California. We saw in another state, this is New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, that had over 6,000 plus voters who were, people who are registered to vote who are not actually allowed to vote. And the number keeps increasing. We're looking at all these little, stories. You know what? We've got some election issues going on here. But let's play it off. Let's try to let's spin it in a way that doesn't actually blame us. You see, we don't want to look like the bad ones here. So, but what do we see in New York? New York is under fire. Almost quite literally. We saw the firebombing in New York just a couple of days ago. And then now we have stabbings near New York's Central Park. And New York is investigating this. The administration is saying, well, is this really a hate crime? I don't really know. I think it's more like of a mental health issue going on here. Churches have been firebombed. Apparently a company that purchased it has ties to, building Muslim mosques. We don't really know what's going on with that situation. But here, let's take a look at what's happening in Zohran Mamdani's New York.
Stabbing on New York City's Upper West Side. According to law enforcement sources, it happened around 1:30 p.m. near Central Park, just feet from a synagogue.
One of the victims is Asian, who was stabbed in the back with a knife. The other victim...
They say the suspect then fled and barricaded himself inside a nearby apartment.
A UPS driver who saw what happened followed the suspect for several blocks, and police took 51-year-old Raul Morales, who you see there, into custody.
I think it's also important to note that this suspect had been arrested 7 previous times.
And by the way, just to pause here for a moment, somebody mentioned here that there's a registered reverse voting, 72 cases in the last 40 years of voter fraud. And we have to understand something that when the left says it's only this much. Same thing with Tim Walz in Minnesota. It's only this much fraud. Fraud is still fraud. If you're okay with a little bit of fraud, you're okay with, it doesn't matter how much fraud. The line keeps getting pushed. It was only this amount. It was only this couple million that was stolen. The boundary will keep being pushed if it is left unchecked. And if they say, hey, nobody's looking into it, we're just going to call Donald Trump an idiot and say, he doesn't know what he's saying. And so let's go through his reports. Let's try to debunk everything he's saying. And, let's make it sound like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. You keep running the media machine that you know people don't trust you anymore. You know people don't trust you, right? Are we still living in COVID? Like, you think people are still attached to that idea that right, it's only $9 billion. Fraud is absolutely still fraud. We saw California fraud. We saw Minnesota fraud. We saw New York fraud. And we're seeing this done by one independent journalist, and California got so mad that they had to make a law to chill these independent journalists. And for MS Now to say, Jen Psaki to say, well, China can buy these. Anybody can buy these voter rolls. They could buy this information, no problem. Why is China allowed to buy it in the first place? That doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't that also be a national security threat? Right. Okay. All right. Let's keep playing this tape.
How was this individual out on the street? That cannot continue to happen.
I would have never thought that this was happening in this neighborhood, which is very quiet, calm, full of families, and nothing intense happening here.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch saying in part, quote, detectives are continuing to work the case and determine motive, but according to victim and witness statements, Morales yelled Allahu Akbar during both attacks. The NYPD currently evaluating whether this is a potential hate crime.
There is a message that's being sent that there's a particular religion that throughout its history has been violent and has been one that has advanced against civilized culture. We're talking about the 7th century religion of Islam, Allahu Akbar, Arabic for God is greater. And when you see this declared, what often follows is murder, death. It's tragic, but it's true.
It's abhorrent. The fear in the Jewish community in New York City is a very real thing, and the threats against the Jewish community in New York City is disproportionately high and elevated. Considering that Jews make up about 10 to 12% of the entire New York City population, between January and June of 2026, 55% of the hate crimes that NYPD investigated were anti-Semitic. That's despicable, it's wrong, and it cannot continue.
And of course, Zoran Mamdani's not going to say this has anything to do with Islam. They can shout Allahu Akbar all day long. He's not going to say a dang thing. He's going to play it off just like he played off the two that threw in IEDs into a crowd at a anti-Islamic protest, not anti-Muslim protest, anti-Islamic. Let's be clear on the wording there. By the way, you say Trump wanted them to find 11,000 votes in Georgia. Let's go through some of the data concerning that, right? Trump called Raffensperger to discuss the irregularities in Fulton County, which they looked into, mentioning the county no fewer than 14 times during the call and stating flatly that it was totally corrupt. Trump cited estimates of 250 to 300,000 ballots that had been dropped mysteriously into the rolls, repeatedly noting that Fulton County had never been checked. In light of what had now been formally admitted, those claims read less like hyperbole and more like an uncannily accurate description of what actually occurred. This is actually from the Federalist, who did some amazing reporting on this. Rather than taking those concerns seriously as questions of whether the law had actually been followed, Raffensperger dismissed them outright, insisting that we, quote, we have an accurate election, end quote. Oh, how many times have we heard that? Gavin Newsom said this, AOC, all these people that were attacking California's elections and the people that were defending their elections, they were saying, what's so wrong about counting ballots? What's so wrong about being very careful on how we count these ballots? When you see mysterious drops of ballots that increased Nithya Raman's numbers drastically over Spencer Pratt, where Spencer Pratt in many cases didn't get any in the latest ballot drops. In the last few ballot drops, it was very strange how this all worked out. So something is going on here. Okay, so let's continue on. It says, rather than taking those concerns seriously, Raffensperger dismissed them. What he did not disclose was that his chief was that his chief of staff, Jordan, I don't want to pronounce this wrong, Fuchs. I don't want to sound like a curse word. Fawkes, right, was secretly recording the conversation in violation of the law, as the Federalist Molly Hemingway reported last year. Immediately after the call, Fawkes leaked the tape to the Washington Post, where the very next day it was selectively framed to create the now infamous narrative that Trump had pressured Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes. The framing inverted the substance of the exchange. Trump's point was not that votes should be manufactured, but that since he was asserting large-scale illegality, identifying 11,780 unlawful votes, the margin of Biden's supposed win would have been straightforward. But this leaked call proved politically effective. And that's true because people still continue to parrot that lie today. Find me the votes. In what case is this illegal? Like, that's such a vague, find me the votes. Find me the votes could be literally is sort of ambiguous in a sense. But there was a context to why he was saying, find me 11,780 votes, because of course that is Biden's margin there. Interesting. Now, tying in all of the pest, which has killed some people. So this is also something that he said is pronounced Fu. Jordan Fu, maybe. You might be right. Hey, I don't know. But I'm not going to pronounce it the other way, Gulu. I'm just not going to do that. I don't curse. Try to stay away from those sounding words, those words that sound like that. But anyway, Legionnaire's disease. Zohran Mamdani is addressing this issue because we're seeing this all across the nation. Okay, so let's play this clip here. This is what he addresses and how they're handling it, which is a very, you can see there's a complete mishandling. They're trial and error here. They're trying to figure out how they can mitigate the situation. But it's getting worse. We're seeing other issues that continue to plague Americans. And other nations thought maybe we can get America by outperforming their farmers. We just import all the goods. Just import it. No big deal.
So I'd like to provide an update.
And Legionnaire's it's caused by something else, right? This is not food related. This is airborne through a specific type of, I believe it's a bacteria, if I'm not mistaken. He explains it here through some of the cooling pipes that some of these cooling pipes were that go, I think they're, I don't exactly know how these cooling pipes are utilized in New York, but they go, I believe, throughout the buildings to cool. I've also heard that it was from some pipes that were being utilized to cool the city. Folks that were walking, that they were spraying the, just mist, and it was being spread through those means. So anyway, let's continue.
On the Legionnaire's cases reported on the Upper East Side, we have identified 82 cases of Legionnaire's disease in association with this cluster. 5 New Yorkers have lost their lives in connection with the disease. I'm heartbroken by these losses and send my deepest condolences to their loved ones. Our city mourns alongside you.
Yeah. So just looking at this, people get sick by breathing in tiny water drops, mist or dust that has the bacteria inside. And of course, this came from these large buildings, the plumbing and water systems in the hotels, hospitals, nursing homes, cooling towers, all these issues here. And so it does not spread from person to person. So, the very specific way to contract this this disease here.
56 New Yorkers have been discharged from the hospital after receiving treatment. 13 people contracted the disease but were never hospitalized. 8 people remain in the hospital at this time. We wish them a swift recovery. To all concerned New Yorkers, I want to reiterate that Legionnaire's disease is not communicable from person to person. All New Yorkers can continue to drink water from the tap, to bathe, to shower, to cook, and to use air conditioners at home, no matter what zip code they call their own. Furthermore, we believe that we have now eliminated the source of the initial cluster. There has been no one with new symptoms reported in more than 10 days, and no new diagnoses in a week. I want to thank the quick and aggressive actions taken by our New York City Health Department. While in the past, the city began investigations after 3 confirmed cases in a tight time frame and geographic area, the department acted at the earliest indication of a potential cluster, launching our investigation on Thursday, July 2nd, at which point there were just 2 confirmed cases. We immediately mobilized to test all cooling towers in the investigation zone. When any tests came back positive, we ordered the respective building owners to fully clean and disinfect their cooling towers, and all have complied. This is the most aggressive remediation and enforcement strategy that our city has ever taken to eliminate the source of Legionella bacteria. And there is always more work to be done.
So despite that he says that there's no new cases, we'll see, we'll keep updated on that to see exactly if he's, you know, if what they believe to be effective is actually true. And somebody's saying here, you know, don't hate him. No. Bro, you guys been hating on Mamdani for no reason. Mamdani, the one who is not only trying to do something that is not in his purview as a mayor, right? He's trying to arrest Netanyahu. Somebody who said, well, we don't actually have the authority. But then he said before that, he said, you know, we're going to do everything in our power. We're going to use the law to the fullest extent. We're seeking every legal, you know, opportunity to figure out how we can arrest him. And look, go for it. By all means. Even Rashida Tlaib was saying, you know, if Zohar Mamdani needs my help, I'm just a call away. Now, I want him to try, because then he'll be put into prison and he'll be removed from office effective immediately. And that would be great, because Zohar Mamdani is the New Yorkers, the folks who have voted for Zohar Mamdani are in for, I mean, they're already in for it, right? New York is becoming a city where you're seeing the top tax bracket leaving New York. We're seeing the top tax bracket leaving New York because of Mamdani's insane tax policies. And not only that, does he keep increasing the taxes on the rich, which a lot of people like, but the way he's gone about this, and I think Pennsylvania is a small town in Pennsylvania is doing a very good job on the situation that it seems like the rest of America can't really, they're not really getting it when it comes to paying down America's debt, paying down their own city. If you can tackle this on, the city level, the statewide level, you can really begin to see a nation prosper. And so I'll play that clip by the end of this. And this is just what we're seeing here with Netanyahu, and the danger, of course, with the Jewish community under Mamdani because of what he did as far as executive order, undoing the previous mayor, Eric Adams, executive orders concerning the protection of Jewish synagogues. And look what you're seeing. You're seeing more attacks on the Jews. It will eventually, I don't want to go there. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that is happening in New York that is detrimental to the Jewish community and detrimental to the American community, that the American citizen, because we know the numbers that came for his polls, that were the folks who were voting for Mamdani were those who were born outside of the country who were voting for him. And we know New York is a sanctuary city. So, it's just bad. So there's many other reasons why we've gone at an exhaustive rate to talk about Zohar Mamdani, because it's not just what's happening in New York. This will happen across the nation. It's happening in California. It's happening, of course, in other states. It's happening in Congress with the three that were recently pushed by Zohran Mamdani and by Bernie Sanders. It happened in, I want to say, it's one of where is it? Where else is it? Somebody help me out here. There's a couple of people that were endorsed by the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. A couple of Democratic Socialists that are popping up all across the nation. We've been covering this, and my mind is drawing a blank here. We've been covering this over the last couple of weeks now, since these wins have been happening, and the DSA praising this. And the DSA is the one that's calling for the removal of the Senate. And there's a lot of radical ideas being tossed around here. So let's continue on. This is him calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal. A lot of other things that we can point out concerning this, but let's take a listen.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave they offend all of humanity. Anyone, with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience, should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant.
Which won't happen. So he concedes. He concedes that they don't have the authority to carry out this arrest. Well, duh. We didn't have to make these videos, but it's we know why he's making these videos. These videos are happening because he needs to look good on the international stage. He needs to look good with his kinsmen. Because this is what they continue to say concerning Israel, concerning the leader of Israel, but they will not condemn anything else other than what Israel has done. And people have, we've gotten a lot of hate on this podcast concerning our stance about this whole October the 7th issue. Email me your thoughts, freedom@equallyoakeshow.com. This is interesting. A lot of stuff happening here. Now, one thing I want to bring out about California before I bring up this, I did say I wanted to play another video, and it was something that somebody commented. I'm just remembering here. Yeah, I think I got it. Okay. So, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I did want to play that. I think it's important to note because this is like a standard that that everybody should really be following suit. I mean, it's at a small level, but hey, they erase 100% of their debt without raising taxes. Can other cities follow the same sort of, the budget? So he said he balanced the budget, but he deferred it. What a liar, man. This is why people don't like Mamdani. Just bad all around.
what it means to live within our means. And that's our approach here at Slippery Rock. Whenever we're taking charge of others' money, we're trying to be good stewards. And so when we're taking a look at those things that are a priority for our constituents and how we can best serve them, that includes, of course, making sure that we're putting their money to good use. And I'm sorry to say, it's not on woke liberal ideology or policies. It's not on
And by the way, Gulu, look, I get it. People do love Mamdani. I've said this from the very beginning. This guy's an excellent speaker. This guy knows how to tailor to the young people. Of course, people know how to tailor. He knows how to tailor to these people. He knows how to sway them. He knows how to tickle their ears with the right things, free bus rides, giving these buildings. The landlord will hand over their property to the tenants themselves, land trusts, nonprofits. He knows how to word himself correctly in order to sway people. And look, I say he's so unpopular more specifically within the conservative movement, with those who have been speaking out. The huge, we're talking about the top voices, right? We've seen Charlie Kirk talk about how bad this is for New York, the fact that he's running. We've looked at clips of that. Major conservative there. We see Mike Johnson, Donald Trump. We've seen JD Vance. We've seen many others, individual, independent podcasters, journalists, all these people that are talking about New York being in danger because this is what they, even Democrats who oppose the policies of these so-called DSA members, Democratic Socialists of America members. Yet they don't want to necessarily attack their own party per se. And so most of them, and some of them have come out, some of them are, they're starting to say things about their own party. Chuck Schumer, we've seen, of course, I can't think of his name. John Fetterman and many others, even what's his name? The House majority, Democratic House majority. A few of these folks who are against the DSA, but they're not going to, not really going to push back all that much. Just going to go to the media pretty much. So this example that we're getting here of eliminating, you guys can watch the rest of the clip. This is the America First Pennsylvania chair who Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania eliminates 100% of public debt. Small wins that can really add up to the national level if everybody begins to follow suit in that sort of trend of, hey, let's fix our own. Let's just do it on the local level. On the local level. But California has its own issues. Even Gavin Newsom saying that the Constitution as we know it. Let me see if I can find this quote here. Because this is, I'm trying to find out what this quote was. I think he said the Constitution, or what? Somebody help me out here. Somebody's got to help me out. I'm really, my mind is going crazy over this one. I need to figure this out. Yeah, somebody's got to help me out here. I can't remember what it was exactly. It's something to the effect of, I want to say it's the Constitution is what he said. No, I don't think it was that. Gosh, and I just anyway, I said this on the podcast the other day. And I just want to make that point known that this is somebody who's beginning to. Oh, I think it's capitalism. It's actually capitalism. Capitalism as we know it doesn't work. I think so, or as we currently have it, something like that. Let me find that. Here we go. He says, capitalism as we know it doesn't work either. We've been talking about these ideas, capitalism, socialism, and Gavin Newsom, and I think a lot of these members who are a part of the Democratic Party are going to be shifting towards the Democratic Socialist Party very soon. By the way, the statement made by Zohran Mamdani concerning the stabbing here, he says, I was briefed on today's horrifying stabbings on the Upper West Side where an Asian man and a Jewish man were attacked. According to the witness and victim statements, the perpetrator yelled Allahu Akbar during both attacks. I am relieved that both victims are in stable condition. The NYPD responded immediately and arrested Raul Morales in connection with both assaults. I'm grateful for the officers and their swift response. The NYPD's initial investigation suggests that mental health may have been a factor. They are also evaluating these stabbings as potential hate crimes. These hateful and despicable attacks have no place in our city, but will not mention the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that this was a hate crime, 100%. As Jack Hibbs said in the clip earlier, that these hate crimes, they stem from a particular group of people. And let's play this clip for you. I think let's go back here for a moment for the folks that missed it. I think this is important.
There is a message that's being sent that there's a particular religion that throughout its history has been violent and has been one that has advanced against civilized culture. We're talking about the 7th century religion of Islam, Allahu Akbar, Arabic for God is greater. And when you see this declared, what often follows is murder, death. It's tragic, but it's true.
It's abhorrent.
In Islam, the Arabic translated word is submit. So you look at what people want to try to make Islam out to be, and when you look at the Western mindset concerning this, it is a mindset that is very tolerant to radical situations like this, with the stabbing here in New York City, the IED bombing in New York City near Gracie Mansion, the firebombing in New York City. These are attacks that are from those who, on the media, completely put out a message, or they put out a message out there that completely, I would say, that attempts to shame Republicans, conservatives, America First Americans, MAGA, and they call the right or the conservative, they call these folks, this group of people that are not Democrats, hateful, bigots, Islamophobic, the worst types of things. And look, I'm not going to vouch for everybody, okay? Our stance here on this show is not, Republican, Democrat, conservative. Yes, I lean more conservatively on some of these issues. Not that I agree with everything. We know very key issues. Abortion is a big fat no on this show, right? No, right to choose, none of that nonsense. There is a way to go about helping women who need, you know, who are confused about the situation, in the sense that, well, you know, it's my body, my choice. That is a very confusing message to tell somebody, because it gets rid of the moral questions that they may be pondering, that this is just a clump of cells in her body. That she is the right to choose is completely false. Different DNA. And you want to be able to share the resources to women who don't know that is available to them for when they have the baby. If they should choose to have the baby. Persuade them to the side of life, of course. But you want to, America needs to get back to the foundations of a strong nuclear family. However, again, going back to the stance of this show, we can go on and on about that, but going back to the stance of this show, the stance is a stance that holds true to the kingdom of Christ. That is, of course, his perfect politic that will come to this world when he establishes his kingdom. When he returns to rule and reign on this earth. We're not going to have any left or right. It's going to be perfect. And there's going to be judgment immediately. We're going to see justice immediately. It's no longer going to be this delayed, well, if God was so good, why wouldn't he just XYZ? Why doesn't he save these people? Why doesn't he stop famine? Why doesn't he cure cancer? Satan, we know that temporarily Satan has a deep stronghold on this country, on this world. He has a stronghold over it. But Christ purchased it and is to, according to prophecy, what we're seeing everything line up. We're looking at all these sort of, all the flags, all the red flags leading up to his return, as he says it would. Now, don't be mistaken. Don't look at headline news to predict what is happening according to prophecy. We aren't to interpret the Bible by our news headlines. We are to look at these headlines through the biblical narrative, through the biblical lens. And so the only thing that we should be doing is to demand the welfare of our nation. And of course, these are like the top two that we can talk about here. And we can go down this rabbit trail. Demand the welfare of the nation in which you are in, because in its welfare, you will find your welfare. That is Jeremiah 29:7. And then pray for the leaders. You can see this in both Old and New Testament. You see even the book of Daniel, that God changes times and seasons. He sets up kings and takes down those in authority. He changes times and seasons. Is a very important key point concerning all of this. And at some point, Donald Trump is going to be removed from office and somebody else is going to step in. God is changing the times and the seasons during 2028 elections, even in 2026, but it's looking like America is on track with keeping the House for midterm elections. It's all looking good so far. But California, going back to California, Rob Bonta, the sleazy mess that he's getting himself into by changing the language on Prop 39. Change the title here. Revised Prop 39 title. Let's go over this article for a second. Okay, Carl DeMaio spoke of this. And here's this article. He accuses the California Attorney General of changing ballot title on the Prop 39 voter ID initiative to rig the election. Now, the opposite of who we actually want in this position is Michael Gates. Look into him, look at his website, all the things that he could do day one. Once again, California politicians are trying to rig our elections by putting biased and dishonest titles in on these ballot propositions. The blatant attempt to rig the November election after he changed the ballot title on Prop 39 voter ID initiative at the last minute to one that discourages voters from approving the bipartisan measure. DeMaio, who's the one of the initiative's official proponent authors and a leader of the Yes on Prop 39 campaign, says his coalition is exploring every legal avenue to hold the Attorney General accountable for election tampering by manipulating the ballot title on the measure. Now, he goes on to explain it himself. So let's take a look at this clip from his podcast on Reform California. I think it's excellent.
Here is the original title for Prop 39. Establishes additional voter identification and citizenship verification requirements. Initiative Constitutional Amendment. This measure would amend the California Constitution to further require that voters present government-issued identification at the polls with the last 4 digits of a government-issued identification number when voting by mail. The state provide voter identification cards on request, and elections officials annually report the percentage of each county's voters whose citizenship they have verified. Not a perfect ballot title. Rob Bonta issued that okay ballot title for Prop 39, the voter ID initiative, back when he didn't think we were going to get the 1.3 million signatures to put it on the ballot. We did that. We did our job. It's on the ballot. And so Rob Bonta realizes, well, hell, I didn't expect it to get this far, so I got to put my thumb on the scale and try to deprive the voters of an honest election, a fair and accurate ballot title. I need to put my thumb on the scale to try to kill the initiative by rigging the election. So here is the new title. Prop 39 prohibits citizens from voting unless they present government-issued identification. Prohibits citizens from voting? No. When people enact a voter ID requirement, trust and confidence goes up in the elections. More people participate. We're trying to stop non-citizens from casting ballots, ineligible voters from casting ballots.
And like we said, you can watch his podcast over on Reform California. He does really great on these California politics here. You can see the distrust in Americans concerning our elections, that there's something nefarious behind the scenes. And we saw Donald Trump. Of course, we looked at some of the clips concerning these issues about our election system and how long certain states take to count their ballots, and how we see the third world countries count their ballots, some in as little as 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours. Like the speed in which other countries begin to do this is concerning, because California, if you're counting ballots week after the fact, which actually just concluded the beginning of July 2nd, I believe. So a couple of weeks after, is very concerning. These are things that should be conducted same day. We saw the Supreme Court upheld the, states get to choose how long they want to allow these issues. It's just ridiculous. And of course, the decision was split. 3, I think it was 3 or 5 versus 4. I don't remember the number. Jared Kushner's father is leaving New York City over Mayor's First Lady's anti-Semitism. And we saw Rama Duwaji's anti-Semitism, the things that she's said concerning this. You're seeing more, and people, of course, are going to praise this. They don't care, right? But you're seeing millionaires and billionaires leaving New York City. We're seeing big companies. We're seeing Marvel leaving, Marvel Comics leaving New York City. Companies that are, leaving. And so a couple of these issues here, some other issues, 198 Democrats voted against banning members of Congress from trading stocks while in office. You talk about the hypocrisy of the left. There's no moral standards with them. They just, whatever they think is best for them in the moment, they're going to go for it. Now, here's what's interesting, right? We're tying in all these different aspects of Well, what are we seeing with scripture? What are we seeing with these headlines that we go on about, right? As I mentioned, we don't want to interpret the Bible by headlines. But we see AI beginning to get more and more advanced. This is OpenAI's agent. If you guys haven't heard this, it actually broke free. Well, rather managed to get access to the internet. It was blocked off from the internet, managed to get access to the internet by hacking the, I don't think it's Higgsfield. It's not Higgsfield. It's the other one, servers. And was able to obtain internet access by trying to crack its own code. Quite interesting. Let's take a listen.
OpenAI admitting that one of its experiments hacked another AI developer. Quote, "We consider this incident to be an unprecedented cyber incident involving state-of-the-art cyber capabilities and are responding accordingly. We are sharing preliminary findings at this stage to help defenders understand what happened and to help calibrate on what models are now capable of." Kurt Knudsen, the cyber guy, joins me now. Kurt,
Now, why point this out? Because AI and how fast it's advancing, you're looking at statements from Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, these top, these people who are really focused, really honed in, zeroing in on AI, on the technologies of AI, and how quickly it can get out of hand. And let me just play this clip for you for Elon Musk, from Elon Musk. This is what he says concerning retirement, AI and robotics. This is incredible. Let's take a look. This 22-second clip. It's quite interesting. Let me put this here for you to see. All right.
One side recommendation I have is don't worry about squirreling money away for retirement in 10 or 20 years. It won't matter.
No.
Okay.
Either we're not going to be here, or
it just it's you won't need to save for retirement. If you won't need to save for retirement. If
Boy, hate when it does this. I'm just trying to get this clip out of the way.
Side recommendation I have is you won't need to save for retirement. If any of the things that we've said are true, saving for retirement will be irrelevant.
And so AI and robotics will drive labor costs to zero. So what at what point are we going to find ourselves in a situation where AI has taken over? And this is not new. Elon Musk has proposed a UBI because of AI, that you will, we'll eventually find ourselves in a position where we can replace wages because the labor costs that will be driven down due to AI and robotics will be able to pay some of these folks back. Create this UBI, this sort of utopia that we've been hoping for. Now, look, I think if anybody has a good motive behind all of this, this would be Elon Musk. We've seen what he's done with X and creating or purchasing this platform in order to allow free speech instead of what Twitter was doing under the Biden administration. Very nefarious stuff that we saw with the reports. And even the congressional hearings concerning the reporter of these Twitter files when he was pressed during a congressional hearing. Very interesting stuff to look at. However, Elon Musk, although with a good intention, we could find ourselves in the position where we are aligned very, very well with the scriptures concerning the AI that will institute. Well, look, it's speculation, of course. AI to institute the mark of the beast. Okay, because an image is created, an image that can speak, it is worshipped. and this is, if you don't know where this is in scriptures, let's not, just summarize for you. I'd rather just read it directly from the scripture, because I think, like I said before, we're finding ourselves in a position where this could very well be the reality in the future. Now, Revelation, and it's not Revelations, people get that wrong. It's revelation, singular word, one single revelation, that is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It says here on verse 3, we can skip down a bit. It says here, actually verse 5, it says, "And the beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, that is, those who dwell in heaven. Also, it was allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them. And authority was given it over every tribe and people and language and nation. And all who dwell on the earth will worship it. Everyone whose name has not been written in the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone has to be taken captive, to captivity goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword he must be slain. Here is a call for the endurance of and faith of the saints." Then he sees, this is John seeing a second beast rising out of the earth. And it had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence. And it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound was healed. So this is like a type of assassination wound. Now, no, this is not Donald Trump. And so they marveled at this because this mortal wound was healed. It performs great signs, even making fire coming down from heaven. Let me see here. Signs even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people, and by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might even cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Now, this image is very reminiscent of what happened in the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel saw the statue of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, by the blast of a trumpet, people had to go kneel down and worship immediately on the spot. And then you see the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Hananiah, Mishael, and I forget the other guy's name. I don't think it's Azariah. Anyway, it might be somebody else. Despite the fact they disobeyed the government authorities because they were told to deny their God. And we saw what came out of that. We saw repentance eventually from Nebuchadnezzar and the following issues after that. However, this image causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or on the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. People talk about this being Nero. Now, Nero, yes, his number adds to 616, 666. Yes, it's the name, the number of the name. It literally means man. That's what it is. Okay. It says this calls for wisdom. Let the one who understands calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay, so it's not that complicated to look at what we're seeing here. And one scripture that I want to bring up here for a moment, that this beast who goes against and is able to prevail over the saints, this isn't Christ's church. Very important to understand. This is how you can sort of defeat the argument that Christians are going through the tribulation. One of the ways that you can defeat the argument that Christians will go through the tribulation. Jesus himself said that the gates of hell will not prevail against his church. Then we would see this passage here and say, well, there's a contradictory here, because clearly we see this beast that is exercising this type of authority, that is powerful, that is able to wage against the saints and to conquer them. to make war on the saints and to conquer them. That is verse 7 in Revelation 13. This is key to understanding this scripture, okay? Key to understanding that this is not the church in the book of Revelation. Not the church. The saints are the tribulational saints that we'll see that come to faith after the fact. And you see the situation of the martyrs who are waiting for judgment upon the people, the evil on the earth. And God gives them a white robe just to sort of, hey, don't worry. Time is coming. God will judge. Don't worry. Okay. I hope you guys appreciated this live stream. Thanks so much for being here. Email me your thoughts, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. Subscribe to the podcast. And thanks for chatting. I know you guys were talking about a lot of other things. We're looking at deception. Somebody mentioned aliens, control. All governments are liars. They watching our leaders, working with top world governments. And we know that the algorithm is going to push the narrative even further. Whatever you're researching, whatever it is, the algorithm will push it, and it will help you to sort of believe in the lie. And this was mentioned in one of the congressional hearings, that if the MK Ultra has sort of shifted into another form by utilizing algorithms in order to, which is interesting, an interesting thought, right? To utilize algorithms in the hopes that it shapes the mind of the viewer who's online. It gets them to think this way, gets them to sort of believe in in these whatever conspiracy theories. We'll just call it for simple terms, because typically what we've been seeing, this was more so during the COVID era, and a lot of these folks who were, conspiracy theorists during COVID seem to want to be, think that they can, all conspiracies are true. They want to try to prove everything by every small ounce of, we see this Charlie Kirk situation happening here. There's all these conspiracies that this is Israel, that this is Egypt, that this is some type of nefarious government that wanted Charlie dead. And the reality is that this was done by somebody who was motivated by his hatred towards an individual, Charlie Kirk, who gave people the voice to speak and to challenge. And he chose a way that was violent. And people are conspiratorial about that. And I get it. Look, I think people don't want to just sit with the idea, that Charlie Kirk, this massive, conservative political figure, was assassinated by some kid. Like they want something, something like this. There's got to be a bigger story here. And that's what the Candace Owen types really subscribe to, so deeply invested in her lies. But then you begin to see the evidence put forth for the preliminary hearings. Well, I mean, it's really telling. A lot of these folks are saying, I'm actually going to stop listening to Candace Owens. It's kind of dangerous if we keep going down this road. Email me your thoughts, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe to the podcast. Peace.